Hey guys, this is a kind of video which I've never really made before. I'm not really sure if I'll really put it on YouTube or if it will even be a series, but it's one that I've been wanting to make for quite a while. It basically revolves around tips and ideas and my philosophy behind playing the game, and it's based on many comments that I've been seeing lately. Comments that, are basically like, how do you make things like this, or how do I make a good coaster, please help, sad face. Which are comments that make me kind of sad because I don't really know what to do with them. It's hard to come up with a way to help the community out, I think, and I've been trying to find that out for a while now. And while I would like to make tutorials, and it's something that I've been wanting to make for a long time too, I'm not really sure what to make tutorials about. For one, I am not really sure what people are looking for in tutorials, what kind of subjects and things of the gameplay people are still looking for. So just in case you are looking for tutorials and you would like me to make some tutorials, please do leave a comment in the comment description, in the comment section, to say like what kind of topics you want me to make tutorials about, and I'll see if I can actually make some videos about the most commonly requested ones. But there's another thing that I want you to keep in mind, and that's that I'm not really a big fan of conventional tutorials, which are like, let's make a German house, and this is how you make a German house, and then you proceed to just make a German house and let people follow all the steps. But that's pretty much something that you can also do by watching time-lapse videos or just copying whatever somebody makes. And to be very honest, I don't think it's an issue if anybody just straight out copies what I make or what anybody makes. I actually think it's a good thing, it's very good practice, as long as you don't share it around with people and say that it's your own work, because it's a really good way to get to know how other people play the game and get to know how they put things together and how you can use certain details to make a certain effect. Basically, it's a very good learning experience. I think it's a good way to improve for your next own builds, and in that sense I think it's something that you can always do. But I want to make some videos that are a bit more constructive. And in this same vein, this is kind of a solo podcast about something that is much bigger than all of this, that I've just been wanting to talk about for a long time. And even though this is a very not very well put together because I'm just randomly chatting here, it's something that I've been thinking about for years now, and it's something that I think about a lot. And what it comes down to is just my general approach to playing the game and how I think, it's best to approach the game and get some good results out of it. And there are 4 things that I want to talk about in this little solo podcast. It's inspiration, motivation, expectation, and patience, and I think they're all really important things to make sure you have if you want to get into playing games like these for the aesthetics, making things, and if you're into making nice things, if you're just into these games for the sandbox creative kind of aspects of it. There are things that I struggle with as well, and that I just want to share my opinion about, and hopefully it helps some people out. So the first thing, something that I've been talking about in snippets, in time-lapses, but never really in one place, inspiration, which more or less kicks off everything, and I don't think it should be understated or underestimated in any kind of case. Inspiration can be really big and really important, and I don't think many things or anything really starts off without inspiration. You always need something to kickstart your ideas, something that you see that kind of just gives a spark in your head, that gives you an idea for something else. And I always look for inspiration before I start making things, especially when I'm sort of in a block period, when I don't really know what to do, or I'm just kind of down, don't really come up with any good ideas. And ways to get inspiration are pretty much endless. It kind of depends on what you're into as well. For theme parks, I like to go to Google Maps actually and just visit theme parks in real life, see how they're laid out, see what kind of themes they have and everything. It's quite a fun thing to do as well, so I do that quite a lot. Especially if, I want to make a new park, and there are some parks that are quite similar to it. So for instance, right now I'm making a small family park somewhere in Germany. So I just went through the list of family parks in Germany that I think could be a good inspiration and a good template to kind of start working from. So looking at parks like Tripsdrill and Hansa Park, which just set a nice example, and give you some ideas to get you going. I think other ways to get inspiration that work pretty well for me at least are Google Images. Literally, if you just Google for whatever theme you are looking for and put wallpaper or concept art or even the word beautiful, or just put the word itself out there, you can get some amazing results. Like, I've been looking for a Japanese theme ideas for about a year now, and when I started doing that, I just went to Google Images and typed Japanese architecture or Japanese architecture inspiration and just looked at the results, kinda, you know, got a few links from that, and you know, kind of started building from that, taking ideas from it and looking at things and getting the idea of, yeah, I should build something like that. And I think that's a really important thing of getting yourself inspired and looking at things for that. You want to, you know, look at something and get the idea that you want to build something like that, except you want to do it in this way. Like, you want to add your own touch to it in a certain way, and that's how I look at many of these things. Now, some interesting sources of inspiration for me are YouTube videos of many different kinds. For theme parks, it's watching theme park review videos. They've got POVs of virtually any coaster on the planet out there. Very good way if you're looking for inspiration or on coaster layouts and an idea of how coasters run exactly. Because if you're looking for like the very concrete details and characteristics of roller coasters, you can just find those on Wikipedia. The Wikipedia page roller coaster elements and the Wikipedia pages for the roller coaster manufacturers are really good ways to get you along. But inspiration for rides and a more nuanced idea of how rides run, I think mostly comes out of watching videos of them and actually seeing them in action and seeing like the very small touches that they have. So yeah, I do that quite a bit as well. Then there's also obviously watching videos of other people playing the game, and the same goes for images. A lot of the inspiration is also just from other people playing Planet Coaster, and I cannot stress this enough. Even for me, watching other people play Planet Coaster is just a big inspiration, not just because it kind of makes me want to play Planet Coaster as well, which I guess is more into motivation side of things, but also because you can get some ideas from it. I think communities like these are so great because they're not necessarily competitive, they're very supportive. Everybody takes ideas and little tips and tricks and ways to, you know, get better at the game from each other. Like, someone discovers there's one bug using which you can make a new kind of scenery, and everybody just kind of spreads that along, and soon everybody knows of it and starts building of it. And I think that's how communities like this move forward, and how like everybody in the community at a general level gets better. And it's why I still take a lot of inspiration from what other people build, which you might definitely see in some of my builds as well. And just watching videos of other people, no matter how good you think their builds are, you shouldn't see them as ways to demotivate you, because they're so much better than what you think your stuff is. Because you're always your own biggest critic, and I think you should always view other people's things as inspiration, instead of letting it demotivate you because you think you can never reach that kind of level. Because you can, and not to mention, you want to, you know, build on what they've done, but add your own touch to it as well. And those are the biggest inspirations for me, generally. I also actually like to go back to older times. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 coasters and parks still are a big inspiration for me. If you've played Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, it may very well be the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 parks that have been shared along the forums of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. There's some really amazing stuff in there as well. And, you know, just watching the things that other people have built in any kind of game can get you going with some sort of inspiration. Now, when it comes to motivation, and this one's a little bit harder, I would say the difference between them is not that big. I actually see many discussions about like what the exact difference between them is, but for me personally, it's that inspiration is what gives me an idea of what I want to do. It gets me going when I don't really have an idea of what I want to do, but I still want to do something. And motivation for me is that idea that I want to do something. Like sometimes I have an idea, I'm inspired to do something, but I don't really have much motivation for it. And sometimes I kind of feel like I want to make something, but it just doesn't really happen that well. And I think many people can, you know, share this feeling. But generally speaking, I think the more inspired you are, the more you're also motivated to make some things, but I'll come back to this later on, because I think both inspiration and expectation, and, you know, having patience as well, they all tie into motivation. I think the most important point for motivation is that you have a certain goal that you want to strive toward. It can be the inspiration that you've seen from something else, that you want to make something like that. It can be the planning or the ideas that you wanna make, and it can be anything else, like just, you know, getting yourself to do something in this game and actually achieving something. In which case, a very strange way for myself to sometimes get motivation is sometimes I just find myself going, you know, through social media all the time and not really achieving anything, and then it's 2 hours later and I'm still browsing my Facebook feed and I'm like, yo, what the hell did I just do? I just wasted all that time. And you know, while it seems like sometimes I'm not really motivated to play Planet Coaster because I try to avoid it as much as I can at some periods of time, when I actually get to it, when I actually get the motivation and start doing it, it just feels better than wasting my time on Facebook feeds and, you know, actually building something. It feels a bit more like you're actually doing something, even though just playing a game, and that's how it's more or less always felt for me since playing these games when I was little. But yeah, that's why I decided recently to shut down my internet sometimes when I'm playing the game. Just completely shut it down and ignore any kind of social media and anybody who's trying to talk with me, because now I'm playing Planet Coaster for a few hours, and I think sometimes that's just quite motivating for me personally. But then again, I also have to say, you know, motivation is quite a personal thing. Like, what gets you motivated kind of depends, really depends on what you're looking toward and what you want to achieve. Oh, that sounds really official. You know, it's just a game in the end, but for me personally, I think it's kind of important, because I don't want to push myself too much, but I do find that when I'm motivated to actually do something, even though it seemed at first that I didn't want to play Planet Coaster, it just is more fun in the end than whatever I was doing to procrastinate. Though procrastination is a completely different topic that I won't get into in this video, because it's a terrible thing that I don't want to remind myself of again. Anyway, moving on to expectation, which really ties into motivation for me personally, because, well, not just for me personally, I think it's ties into motivation quite well, and more than people normally think of. Because one thing that gets me going, that gets me motivated, is having an idea of what I want something to look like. Like, I've got a general planning of, you know, this is going to be a village, it's going to look this way, and I want it to be exactly this way. There's going to be the town hall over here, there's going to be a church over here, and it's going to look like this, and it's going to be awesome. And if you have that kind of expectation of what you want to do, if you have a general idea and planning of what you're going to do, it's much easier to get that motivation, because you've got something to look forward to. Like, every single wall that you build isn't just a random wall in the middle of nowhere, but this is gonna sound so cheesy, but it's a wall that you place that is one step closer to making what you are trying to make a reality. It's one wall closer to making that Alpine village a reality within the game and actually finishing it. And for me at least, that's a much bigger push than just randomly building without a plan. And this is why, for me, and I think this would go for many other people, because it's something of a bit of a mistake that I see many people make, that they just open the game and do whatever and just kind of mess with things and just keep going, no, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, I don't want to make this, what am I even doing here? And after about an hour you haven't really achieved anything, and you just kept removing your own things. I've had this way too many times myself, and just it feels really useless and not really motivating. And for that reason, having an idea in your head, you don't really have to sketch it out. There don't have to be like SketchUp models just to model out what you want to make. It's just a game, but just having an idea of what you want to make, which often sparks from the inspiration that you've got as well. Just having an idea of, I'm gonna make this in this way, helps to get me motivated at least, and I think this would go for many people. It's a lot more motivating in any case than having no idea what you're doing and just kind of randomly doing things. And in the end, it often looks a bit better if you've planned things ahead a little bit as well. If you've got an idea of what you want to make somewhere, it most likely ends up being a little less incoherent, and you can always just tweak with things a little bit later. Like once you're done making what you were planning to make, and you think, no, this isn't exactly looking like I was hoping to, because it will never look the way that you were hoping to. You can always tweak some things and look at them afterwards, but you've already got most of the progress done, and I think that's quite important for that as well. So yeah, for me, and I think this would go for many other people, having an idea in your head of what you want to make really helps me going. Not just in terms of, you know, keeping me building and interested in actually working on what I'm building, but also just makes the final results more clear and well put together in many of my cases, and it just makes the game more fun to play. And yeah, you will also need some patience for it, which is why I wanted to talk about that for a second as well. I get many questions about like how I can even stand to play games like this for 4 hours in a row and just keep going with it day in. I was just about to say day in, day out, but that's a Dutch saying. That's terrible. But yeah, how I keep going on like 24/7 playing games like this. Truth be told, I don't really. I am pretty sure that there are many people who do have that patience, but there are just certain ways that you kind of have to get yourself through it with. I think sometimes if you're really caught in that stream of, yes, I'm gonna make this happen, you can play for hours on end and just keep going without any other real thing that's stimulating you to do so. But in many cases, I think for me personally, because I'm not that patient, it's nice to have something aside that is also quite enjoyable. So I like to play the game while, you know, I'm either playing with people, though I don't really do that as often with time lapses. I love playing the game while listening to some good music. For me, this is really important. The music is everything. But you can also, you know, take some breaks. Rarely any of my time lapses are one single time lapse. They're sometimes recorded over multiple days, definitely multiple sessions on a day. And there's a bit of just, well, fun playing around between the time lapses as well. It's definitely not just keep on playing the game until, you know, I've got that video out. I think if you've got something in the background like music or just talking with people, it can be a really relaxing kind of game to play, and that's what I do like about games like these. I think they're barely even games, it's just very relaxing, sort of creative fun. It's a lot like drawing or making music. I think it's at least more comparable to that than playing, you know, classic multiplayer games or what is the mainstream idea of games. And that's why I think, you know, patience doesn't look as bad, because it's a relaxing kind of experience in the end. And I do want to, you know, tie patience back into the fact that you kind of want to be motivated as well. If you're motivated, you can definitely just keep on playing games like these hours on end. And if you've got an idea of what you want to make, it's a lot less hard, it's a lot less tough to sit behind a computer for hours and try to make that, because you're, I don't know if too many other people feel this, but you're really, you feel motivated to make that thing happen. And if in the end it still doesn't really work out, I think it always works to just come back to looking for sources of inspiration. Just browse the forums, go on YouTube, or talk with some people and check out some awesome things that other people have made. It can always get you going at any point in time, and if none of those things work, you can always close the damn game and play something else and just have fun, because that's the most important thing in the end. But yeah, I think a good way to sum it up is, in general, just find what you're looking for, and that should be your goal to reach if you're playing the game. That's how I get through a lot of it. That's, you know, inspiration is what helps me to find what I'm looking for. And if I found it, I've got a lot of, like, an expectation of what I want to do, which motivates me to keep going, and at that point patience isn't really too big of an issue anymore. That's how I generally approach the game. And it also kind of makes the game a bit more fun in the process for me as well. And yeah, that is how I look at it mostly. There are a couple of other small things that I want to fit into this video just to get going for a little bit longer that I do want to talk about. And they kind of refer to general tips that I want to give, and that this seems like a good opportunity to give in as well. Whenever you're building anything, make sure you've got an idea of what you want to make first. This doesn't just go for park layouts, but it also goes for smaller things. It just gets you most creative, and I think it's also what gets most of the outside the box thinking. I've talked about it a bit before, but it's how I approach much of how I built my things. So to give an example, actually, the very infamous chimney pillars in Grizzly Valley were something that was frowned upon, because how does anyone even get the idea to use chimneys as pillars? But it's an idea that more or less stemmed from the fact that I knew what I wanted to make, and I was looking for ways to make that happen. I knew that I wanted to make pillars, and I was just scrolling through the icons in the game to see what would actually work to make those pillars, and the chimney just turned out to be the thing that worked most. And this is a mindset that I think works a lot better than looking at the pieces in the game and seeing what you can make with it. I think I can summarize it as the best mindset to have is to think of what you want to make, then look at the pieces in the game to see how you can make it, instead of looking at the pieces in the game and see what you can make out of it, because the latter will just keep you thinking inside the box. It'll make you look at a window and think, right, this is a window, I'm gonna put this over my building here and here and here, and that's how it's gonna work, because that's how it's supposed to work. But if you have the mindset of, I'm gonna build a Roman temple, I don't give a shit if none of these pieces are actually meant to make a Roman temple with it. I'm just gonna look at the pieces and see if they can fit into my plan, and then if they do, you can find some like interesting way to fit them into that plan. I think it's just a nice way to get more out of the box thinking going, to try with different themes with the pieces in the game, and just overall get more unique and creative things out of it. It's a lot more fun for me personally as well, because you so rigidly have to follow what the game gives you. It's more about breaking what the game has and seeing what you can actually do with the game. Though I wouldn't especially recommend trying to make roofs out of doors. It's the idea that counts. There are many different uses for many different pieces in the game, and we'll never ever find all of the uses for all the objects, but it's a lot of fun to just find new little tricks and ways to use objects in ways that they're not really meant to, and just keep building on that. And I think that's a good way to improve your building as well. If you compare my current building to what I was making in Grizzly Valley episode 1, like regardless of whether you think what I build is good, I think you can already see that, you know, there's huge leaps forward in using certain pieces, and it all just kind of stacks together. Because in the end, and this is something that I cannot, you know, ignore, and something that I do have to say, as much of a cliche as it is, experience and practice are a lot. And I didn't talk about them in this video because, well, they seem kind of self-explanatory, but they are really a lot, and it's through this that you just kind of get better at the game. And I think just personally a good way to get this, to actually let the experience help you out and get better over time, is to look at the game exactly the way that I do, though I'm obviously always open for other feedback on this, or other people's comments, or how other people look at the game and play the game and enjoy the game. So I'm definitely up for some discussion in the comment section as well. But these are just my thoughts on it. So yeah, go get that experience, because experience always counts, no matter how shitty whatever it is that you're making. You at least made something, and it will make everything that you make from that point onward at least a little bit better. Even if you remove whatever you were working on, it's always progress, and it's never a waste of time. And not to mention, just to bring out my favorite quote of all time, time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted time, and neither is any kind of time that you're just doing whatever in a game like this wasted time, because whatever you're doing, you'll always get better at the things you'll do in the future, just because it'll build on it. Anyway, this was my little solo podcast of looking too deep into games with Silvarret. Thank you for listening, and if you want to have more stupidly deep readings into video games with Silvarret, make sure to leave a comment. And in all seriousness though, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna do this much more often in the future, but if you do appreciate it, some feedback would be awesome. Though on the other hand, if you think this is totally stupid, that's cool too, and you can always leave a comment about what you kinda do want my videos to look like. But yeah, thanks for watching in any case, whether you hate or love this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video, whatever it'll be.